Hi Ultimate Gardeners, welcome back to the Ultimate Gardening channel. My name is Emmanuel Arcego, known to be the Ultimate Gardener. Come join me in becoming an Ultimate Gardener day by day. The Ultimate Gardeners, as you can see, we're in a different setting right now, and we actually have a special guest with us today. We have David the Good over here. He is an expertise when it comes to permacultural gardening, as well as having a garden that sustains itself. Isn't that right?
Right, generally. Yeah.
And so we're just going to be talking about a few overall questions about how David the Good started gardening, about the method he does, and just methods in general that he prefers to make gardening easier day by day, year after year, to help other gardeners grow in their gardening skills as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into this video. So starting off with our first question, David, how did you start gardening?
I was before I got kicked out of school, when I was in kindergarten, actually, the kindergarten teacher brought in some little cups of soil and some beans, and so all the kids got to sprout a bean in a cup.
Classic.
And so when that bean came out of the ground, we took the cup of dirt home with the bean, planted in it, a little water in it. When it sprouted, I thought, this is like magic. And so one of the first things I did was I went into my mom's pantry and I started pulling all the beans out of the bags, all the dry beans, you know, the black beans and white beans and everything, and just taking pots of sand from the backyard and planting them and growing them. And then I actually was not very good in school, and I was disruptive, and they were going to make me repeat kindergarten. So my mom said she's going to take me out and homeschool me and kind of catch me up. But when she took me out of school, I did so much better homeschooled with her teaching me that she ended up just keeping me in homeschool. So then I had a lot of time to garden, and I told my dad I really, really want to garden. And so my dad took a little piece out of the lawn and he put some logs out, and I had this 8-foot by 8-foot, and that was when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And I put this little garden right here in this terrible South Florida sandy terrible, and then I just killed stuff for years. That's how I got started.
That's how technically I started too, like with the school classic bean starting situation on gardening. But mainly I started because my dad kind of saw the potential in me, and that's how I kind of went off. And literally that's the same thing. He's just like, okay, here's a small little piece of
the backyard.
And then
that's awesome.
That's when starting, we always kill plants, and that's why I always say to everybody, there's no perfect gardener out there. There's always mistakes, and we learn from those mistakes year after year. So that's why I'm like, for beginner gardeners, they stress out a lot because they have like a whole bunch of things that they want to do, but they have to narrow it down to certain things. So it could get, like, the level of success could be at a higher rate. So that's why I was like, you know, don't overwork yourself. Just go slow by slow.
Yeah, don't feel too much pressure. Like, if you plant one little basil plant, people are like, my basil, it has something on the leaf, it's gonna die. So you only got one basil? You know how many basil I kill? I kill like 10 a day. I mean, you know, you just like, whatever. You know, so what you do, throw a lot of seeds around, you get a whole packet of basil seeds, sprinkle them all over the place. The ones that live are the ones that were supposed to live.
Exactly.
You're not gonna worry about it that much.
Okay, so the second question is permacultural gardening. How did you find your home in permaculture?
That's a good question. So I had been gardening and growing regular row gardens and little raised beds, because everybody did raised beds, you know. It's like, did little raised bed gardens for some years and grew vegetables to bring into the house. And I always kind of felt like, man, trees take a long time, and I like radishes. 30 days, you know, 28 days, you got a radish. You know, it's like, it's so fast. And I had this real short-term thinking. And then I saw Jeff Lawton's Create Your Own Food Forest, the permaculture way, right after it came out. And I thought, you know, I've planted a few fruit trees at that point, because I got a little older, put a few fruit trees in the yard, and thought, man, the idea of a forest that lives longer than I do and produces more and more and more, I kind of became more patient as I got older. And then I realized, even when I was a kid, when I was 15, I planted a coconut palm. Planted a little sprouted coconut that was growing at my grandpa's house. And I planted that little coconut, and it kept growing long after my radishes were gone. And so the idea of doing something that's permanent and lasts for a long time, you know, you kind of, I guess as I grew up, I just saw the potential in it more. And I also realized, and you get like a starfruit tree, I don't have to do anything to take care of the starfruit anymore. The starfruit tree got growing. The starfruit tree is like 12 years old now, and it just drops, it's dropped literally tons of fruit I mean,
It literally still has fruit on it.
I mean, it's like fruit twice a year, and it's always got fruit on it. Seems like. Paid $35 for this tree when we put it in, and here we are. I mean, if you think like each star fruit is probably worth $1 if you were to buy them from the grocery store, this thing has produced probably $3,000 or $4,000 worth of food.
Yeah.
And that's way better than radishes.
Yep.
So that like long term, build the system. And in this area too, South Florida wants to be trees. It's way easier to grow fruit trees than it is to grow vegetables here.
I know that from experience.
Yeah.
Right now I'm a lot of a vegetable because to be honest, I started off as an ornamental gardener. Did not like vegetables. I didn't want nothing to do with that because I love flowers. I can't live a day without flowers. And so when my mom kind of knocked some sense into me, she said, "Listen, if an apocalypse comes through,
that's right,
need flowers." And then she was like, "So I need you to step up your game." And so I was like, "Okay." So then that's when I kind of transitioned, and then right now the backyard garden is mainly like raised beds and the vegetables, like you stated, and that's how I'm starting off right now. But yeah, that's how we've been going over there at my house. But another question that I really wanted to ask you is, if you can narrow it down to certain plants in the garden, which one would it be?
Oh man, so if we're talking particularly survival, and of course this is a tropical climate too. This is going to depend on what climate you're in, because if you live further north, a lot of the stuff that you see here is, I mean, none of it is going to grow.
Yep.
So you have to plant the plants to grow with your climate. So the way I do that is say, okay, what will make me full? Because I've seen these seed collections, like the apocalypse seed collection. You get a can and it's got some spinach seeds and some beet seeds and some lettuce seeds. Like if everything falls apart and we have to grow out of our backyards again, you're not gonna live on lettuce.
No.
You will be so hungry. You know, it's like
You'll be waiting for the seeds to germinate.
It's like if you go out to eat with a girl and she orders a salad, you know that's not all she's gonna eat. She's gonna go home and eat like a tub of Ben and Jerry's. But when she's with you, she'll eat the salad. No, you know, you've gotta be full. And so you're looking at like cassava and yams, sweet potatoes, plantains, green bananas, like the sort of stuff that you can eat it and you'll stay full. So for me, in this climate, like my two favorite root crops would be cassava or yucca, and then yams, the true yams, which is the climbing yam from the tropics, which a lot of Americans don't know that one.
Yeah, I don't even know that one.
It's so good. You're gonna have some before the end of the day. I'm gonna give you some.
Great.
And then after that, you get your nutrition crops.
Yeah.
So moringa is a really good one. You got moringa, and then there's a lot of nutritious greens, but you really can forage for most of your nutrition just by picking weeds, you know, as long as your stomach's full.
So something I hear a lot of gardeners discuss about is because I always tell vegetable gardeners that they have to grow flowers because without the flowers, there's no pollinators. And so something I've always discussed about when it comes to permaculture or sustainable gardening, if you are a gardener that focuses more on fruit trees, on crops you should grow for yourself, do you really focus on flowers, or do you really think when it comes to this style of gardening, flowers are necessary?
That's a good question. You know, a couple of years ago, I planted a whole bunch of zinnias and marigolds through my garden beds. And I had a couple people say, "Why would you plant all those zinnias? You know, like they don't really do anything. Like you can't really even eat them. They're just pretty." and I realized, you know, I used to be very much just grow food and ignore anything that's ornamental or beautiful. But I thought, you know, God didn't do that. Look at all the beautiful stuff that God made. Like there's a food for your soul as well, which is part of it. And you see something beautiful and you realize, well, God designed that and he gave that to us. As, you know, he could have made us just functional blocks in a world where we eat like one kind of food and we all look exactly the same and there's no difference. You know, you don't have black hair and blonde hair, and you don't have blue eyes and brown eyes, and you don't have all these different beautiful things. He totally didn't need to do that. And there is something for the pollinators, and there's, you know, plants usually grow in communities where you've got all kinds of different things growing, but there's something just, usually what I do first is I plan out, okay, how much do I need to feed me? And then in between all the gaps, I'll throw in a bunch of different flower seeds, wildflowers, and then I deliberately plant some stuff just for the pollinators. Do you have to have it? Not necessarily. You're gonna have more bees and butterflies and you'll probably have happier plants because of that community. But is it good to have? Is it good for your soul? Yeah, it's good. Like we've got orchids hanging on the trees.
Orchids
you
is the
know,
classic tropical
it's
flower.
like if you can grow it, why not?
I'm starting to build an
You know?
orchid house at home, so
Oh, that's
hopefully
awesome.
that works. So something that we discussed before is that my mother does have arthritis, and I always am looking for ways to organically or like plant-based help her health condition by a long extent. So I wanted to know, is there any other particular plant out there that is great for arthritis that could be treated with plants?
That's a good question. One of the actually best things for arthritis and for inflammatory conditions is actually what you don't eat. What you don't eat. So a lot of people get achy joints because they are somewhat allergic to potatoes. Potatoes are one, it's very inflammatory. So if you have issues with inflammation, sometimes there's solanine, which is in potatoes, will give you more inflammation. Another one is wheat. A lot of people have issues with wheat and they don't realize it, so you have constant issues with the stomach and with digestion and with the joints. A lot of it is actually our American diet is very inflammatory. We eat a lot of hydrogenated oils and vegetable oils. We eat cottonseed oil and soybean oil and other things that are not really particularly natural and take a lot of processing to eat. So the further you go back towards eating just anything that is very unprocessed, whether that's eating a steak rather than eating stuffed raviolis, or if like there's meat in it. It's like you could eat corn, right? People say, corn's natural. Cheetos come from corn, but eating Cheetos is different than grinding corn and making your own tortillas, or making a hominy like they do in the South, or eating corn on the cob. It's a different, we're talking different things. So it's mostly what you don't eat. But then beyond that, once you figure out what you should be eating, like what you shouldn't be eating, then you want to eat as close to natural as possible. Especially bone broth. I know that's not a plant-based thing, but if you're boiling the bones and all the joint material and the collagen and everything, it can really heal a lot of issues with the stomach and with the joints and help rebuild. And then eat a lot of as high in nutrient dense foods as you can. So Moringa's a really good one, and a lot of the brassicas are good for nerve connections and other things. So that would be your cabbages and your kale and collards and some of those things. But as for a specific plant, probably the Chinese would know better than me. But generally, I used to have a lot of joint pain, and I fixed it by eliminated wheat out of my diet, and I found out that's what was giving me the problems. Turmeric.
Yes.
Turmeric and ginger.
Yeah. I'm growing blue turmeric at home. When I went to go shopping with my Obas.
It's got a lot of healing capabilities.
Yes. Yeah, and when we went, because I went on a lot of like shopping spree, especially for my mom, I found this plant that I've never heard before that's called gray plantain. It's not an actual fruiting tree. It's like
a weed, right?
It looks like a weed.
Yeah, the broad, it kind of spreads out from the middle, has lines down the middle of the leaves. Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
I started growing that, and now I see like literally it starting coming off in between the pavement. I'm like, how did you get
that's
this?
the way.
That's always okay.